Hey there, I'm Alex. I've been playing Magic the Gathering for the past 30-ish years. I started back playing very casually with my best friend, building decks in his bedroom out of a huge box of cards that he had. I went on to playing on a local tournament level back during Ravnica City of Guilds, I want to say. Nowadays, I mostly just play Commander in a very casual format. I have heavily favored a politics focused deck. So this will be decks that enable your opponents to do stuff and try to take advantage of either misplays or other players not quite understanding the cards that I have or that they have access to. I say all of that to kind of get out of the way I'm going to be viewing cards. So when I'm viewing cards, I'm going to be focusing mostly on its usefulness in Commander from the perspective of a group hug or politics player. With that in mind, I want to take a look at this card today. Right here, right there. This card's called Excavation. It costs 1 blue and 1. It's an enchantment from the Prophecy set, and it reads, pay 1, sacrifice a land, draw a card. Any player may play this ability. Now, at first this seems like a pretty useful card. Sure, it's going to of course cost you 1 card draw in order to draw and play it. It's going to cost you 2 mana on your turn, but this can be gotten out relatively early in the game, and it creates a very interesting option. The ability to tap 1 mana and sacrifice a land to draw a card means that if you have extra land drops on your turn, this can be used to move through to get your combo pieces, to get to your win conditions faster, so on and so forth. And in particular, the way I thought it would most often be used is when a player is about to lose the game, they would sort of use this ability to sacrifice a land to draw a card in order to move through to their counter spells or to life gain or any particular removal pieces they have in their deck. However, I've played about 10 games with this card in my deck, gotten it out in I think half of them, and interestingly enough, I've actually never seen another player use this card. Now, I participate in a lot of opponent training when I'm playing my politics deck because you kind of have to when you're playing a politics themed deck that gives your opponents a lot of options. You have to give frequent reminders, hey, you can do this, hey, you can do this, hey, you can do this, hey, these are my triggers that give you more options. So you have to spend a lot of time reminding your opponents of the options available to them. But even when a player was about to lose the game, they really wouldn't like to take the option of excavation. And this didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me because, well, excavation is a pretty useful ability. I even used it several times during those games to try to demonstrate, hey, this is how this card works, this is how it can be advantageous. I even managed to avert losing at one point because of the extra card draws given to me by excavation. However, players will experience a thing called loss aversion. You see, card draw, your hand size, and all of that, and your land base are 2 of the primary resources available to you in Magic the Gathering. Lands tap for mana. Mana allows you to play your cards. If you get rid of a land, you lose your ability to play cards, and this is generally how players are going to think about sacrificing land. Casual players in particular are strongly averse to land destruction. You'll see a lot of discussion in Magic the Gathering forums where people will just outright say land destruction is banned at my table for casual play, and that's because it tends to sort of slow down the game. It makes you less able to play your own combos, so on and so forth. And that's where the aversion to cards like Excavation tend to come from. Sure, it does allow you to, in an emergency, say tap 3 lands, sacrifice those 3 lands, and draw 3 cards until you get to that counter spell or that combo piece or whatever in order to get you out of an emergency situation. However, it seems that in general, players would much rather just lose the game than put themselves at that much of a weaker position, even if they have a heavily artifact or creature focused mana base. Now, this, of course, isn't going to be true for certain decks. I believe they're called land matters. Decks that play cards like Life from the Loam could be particularly interested in the use of Excavation. However, if what you are focusing on is giving your opponents many generally usable options, I don't believe that Excavation is really going to get used that often and is worth putting in your deck. I just thought this was a particularly interesting card. I thought it would have seen a lot more use than it did. However, like I said, in the 10-ish games between the 8 players that I played against, I don't believe a single opponent ever actually used this card as an option. So it's kind of getting removed from my deck. I figured that'd be an interesting thing to talk about. I'm going to probably try to talk more about Magic the Gathering, and particularly from the perspective of a group hug politics player who favors Commander. If you're interested in that, well, hopefully the things I have to say going forward will interest you more.